Okay, so you want a new iPhone, but with the new iPhone 17 series just hitting the shelves, you're probably asking yourself, should I shell out some serious cash for a new 17 or 17 Pro, or should I just grab an iPhone 16 or 16 Pro instead and pocket the savings for some Cheetos? Well, worry not, because we've got all 4 of these bad boys right here, and we'll slide into the design, display, performance, cameras, and battery of these 4 iPhones to help you make up your mind. Hey, I'm Olive, your host here at Versys.com. Alright, the iPhone 17 Pro definitely stands out with that brand new camera plateau on the back and its punchy Fanta orange shade. The iPhone 17 and 16 look pretty similar, though the 17 is actually just a tiny bit bigger. The 16 Pro, on the other hand, keeps that classic look we've seen on most of the previous Pro models. When it comes to materials, both the iPhone 17 and 16 rock aluminum frames, while the 16 Pro uses titanium. All these 3 also have a full glass back. The new 17 Pro actually ditches the titanium for an aluminium unibody with only a small ceramic shield glass window to make sure it can still charge wirelessly. For weight, the iPhone 16 is the lightest of the bunch at 168 grams, and the 17 Pro is the beefiest, weighing 203 grams. You get the same IP68 protection across all 4 iPhones, which means they are all totally sealed against dust, and they can survive being dunked in clear water up to a depth of 6 meters for 30 minutes. So as always, let's check in with the team and see who likes which design best.
The iPhone 16.
The 16 Pro.
The 17 Pro.
The 17.
The 17. And what about you?
I'm gonna go for the 16 Pro. Now, let's check out these displays. The iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and 16 Pro come with a 6.3-inch LTPO OLED panel and 120Hz refresh rate support. However, the 17 and 17 Pro both come with a new anti-reflective coating on the display. The vanilla iPhone 16 features a slightly smaller 6.1-inch OLED screen and a pretty ancient 60Hz refresh rate. We threw them under simulated sunlight at over 100,000 lux and measured the typical high brightness using a full white screen. Surprisingly, all 4 phones basically hit the same mark, sitting at around 1,100 nits. However, when we looked at the peak brightness, measured using only a small window, both the 17 and 17 Pro models showed much higher numbers compared to the 16 and 16 Pro. For security, you get Face ID right at the top of the display, tucked inside the dynamic island on all 4 devices. For even more info on screen specs, feel free to pause the video right here. So for screens alone, the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro are definitely the best thanks to their higher peak brightness and that new anti-reflective coating, which are sweet additions to the already great display the iPhone 16 Pro offers. The iPhone 16 though, yeah, that display is prehistoric. But are the speakers on the 17 and 17 Pro just as good as their displays? Let's find out. All these iPhones come with stereo speakers, with one located up top and the second down at the bottom. It might look like they have 2 speakers at the bottom, but one of those grills is actually reserved for a microphone. All these speakers sound fantastic, but the audio fidelity is a bit more polished at higher volumes in the Pro models, as audio can sound a bit distorted in the standard 17 and 16. Oh, and since you're listening attentively, we just wanted to say that a ton of you are watching our videos, but you are not subscribed yet. Don't worry, you can easily fix that by smashing the subscribe button right under the video. Oh, and if by the end of the video you feel like checking out any of these phones, be sure to check out direct links in the description. So, with design, display, and audio all wrapped up, it's time to check out the cameras. For the main shooters, all of these iPhones are rocking 48 megapixel cameras. However, the iPhone 17 and 16 have an f1.6 aperture and a 1/1.56 inch sensor, while the 17 Pro and the 16 Pro step it up with an f1.8 aperture and a larger 1/1.28 inch sensor. In practice though, there are virtually no differences between any of these shots. The white balance, highlights, shadow detail, they're all pretty much identical across the board. The same story holds up for indoor shots. shots, where all four phones do a great job controlling bright light sources like this glass lamp or our cute retrowave cactus. As for the ultra-wide cameras, the iPhone 17 gains the same 48-megapixel shooter found on the 17 Pro and 16 Pro. The iPhone 16, though, lags behind, still using a smaller 12-megapixel camera. Once again, in bright outdoor scenarios, we have pretty much identical results from all four cameras, despite the iPhone 16 having different hardware. Indoors, though, the 16 and 16 Pro shots look noticeably warmer, while the 17 and 17 Pro deliver photos with a more neutral white balance. Switching over to portrait mode, you'd be seriously hard-pressed to tell the difference between any of these shots, because they all look exactly the same. However, since the iPhone 17 and 16 are missing a telephoto lens, only the Pro versions can take these kinds of zoomed-in portrait shots. One weird thing that we did notice, though, is that the 17 Pro blurred only my face to the point where it looks out of focus, but the rest of my body is sharp. Hopefully this is just a bug and will be addressed soon. Flipping over to video, the iPhone 17 and 16 max out at 4K 60 FPS, while the Pro models can go all the way up to 4K 120 FPS. But for our comparisons, all of our footage is filmed in 4K 30 FPS. Just like with photos, the video quality is pretty similar. They all deliver really good-looking videos with impressive stabilization. Every single one of these iPhones is also capable of recording cinematic video, and they all do a fantastic job detecting depth and edges. When using the ultra-wide cameras, all four phones are limited to 4K 60 FPS. Once again, they all look nearly identical, even with the 16 rocking a different ultra-wide lens. We do see a tiny bit more shakiness in all, but it's barely noticeable. Flipping these phones like pancakes, the 17 models debut a new 18-megapixel camera at the front, which features a square sensor that lets you take both vertical and horizontal photos without having to physically turn the device. The 16 and the 16 Pro stick with a traditional 12-megapixel camera. This is where the 17 and 17 Pro clearly pull ahead, offering a much wider field of view that lets you capture more of the background. In low light scenarios, the 17 and 17 Pro look just a pinch warmer than the 16 and 16 Pro, but they have less noise, which results in cleaner photos overall. For video with the front camera, all phones max out at 4K 60 FPS. Once again, you can see the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro capture a bit more of the scenery, but as far as fine detail and color accuracy go, they all look pretty identical. So now let's test out the audio on all of these devices, and we'll start off over here with the iPhone 17. What do you guys think? How am I sounding? Then we're gonna move on to the 17 Pro. Does it sound any better than the 17? And then we move on to the 16. I'm in a relatively busy area, so how's it handling the noise? Finally, we've got the 16 Pro. Is it any better than the others? I don't know, but as always, let's talk about it. So as you just heard, there are also no major differences to report here. They all highlight my voice well, but they also let a high amount of city noise sneak into the video. Moving over to zoom, the 17 and 16 still lack a telephoto lens. The iPhone 17 Pro, however, just introduced a new 48-megapixel periscope telephoto with 4x optical zoom, which is actually one of the reasons for that camera pop-tart on the back. The iPhone 16 Pro has a smaller 12-megapixel periscope telephoto, but it offers a longer 5x optical zoom. Here's how they all compare when zoomed to 10x digital zoom. The iPhone 16 looks really fuzzy here, while the 17 Pro looks the best, despite having a shorter optical level than the 16 Pro. The 17 and the 16 can only hit a maximum of 10x digital zoom, whereas the 16 Pro can go up to 25x, and the 17 Pro can hit 40x, in case you ever need to zoom that deep. Now let's see how they handle low light conditions. In photos taken with the main camera, you can immediately tell the iPhone 16 is clearly outperformed by the rest, with the 17 Pro and 16 Pro looking the most balanced overall. With the ultra-wide cameras, the 16 Pro actually looks the roughest, showing the most noise and a weird greenish tint. Both the 17 and 17 Pro have much more effective noise reduction going on. In portrait mode, the iPhone 16 Pro fails at correctly detecting depth, blurring my trousers and the floor evenly, making the shot look super artificial. Here you can see how the telephoto lenses of the 17 Pro and 16 Pro compare. The most notable difference is the tone of the light in the room, which is a bit more orange on the 17 Pro, but also in the 17. On video though, they all look pretty much the same. They balance the exposure and white balance smoothly, but we have to say that while all of them have some noise in the footage, the 16 and the 16 Pro have just a tiny bit more. In video with the ultra-wide cams, there's definitely a lot more noise and shadows get heavily crushed across the board, but that's expected given the smaller sensor size. So to sum it all up, you're gonna get pretty much the same great results from all of these phones when capturing photos and videos in well-lit scenarios. The iPhone 17 and 17 Pro do have a slightly better performance in low light, while of course the 17 Pro and 16 Pro do much better at zoomed shots, which makes the 17 Pro the overall best here. But is it also the best in performance? Well, you better buckle up, kids. Now, for the heads of operations, the iPhone 17 is powered by Apple's A19 SoC, and the 17 Pro gets the A19 Pro. The 16 has the A18 chip, and the 16 Pro runs on the A18 Pro. For RAM, the 17 Pro comes loaded with 12 GB, while the 17, 16 Pro, and 16 all stick with 8 GB. As for storage variants, both 16 models start with 128 GB, while the 17 series kick off at 256 GB. For USB speeds, you get the rather outdated USB 2.0 standard on the iPhone 17 and 16 base models, but the 17 Pro and 16 Pro both get the much faster USB 3.2 Gen 2. Something new Apple introduced in both the 17 and 17 Pro is their in-house N1 chip for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but they still rely on Qualcomm chipsets for cellular connectivity, so none of these phones use Apple's own C1 and C1X chips. As is the standard practice now, all of these iPhones are eSIM exclusive in the US, but if you pick up an international model, you still get physical SIM support. Alright, but to really see what these phones can do, we'll throw them into some real-world testing starting with gaming. We'll run 30-minute sessions with cool-down time in between. First up, Grid Legends in graphics mode. Interestingly, both iPhone 17 models run this game at up to 40 FPS, and they maintain that frame rate nicely. The 16 and 16 Pro are capped at a lower 30 FPS, but they also sustain it well. For heat though, the 16 Pro was the chilliest at 43 degrees Celsius, with the rest clocking in at around 46 degrees Celsius. Next, we launched Wuthering Waves and cranked the graphics all the way up. This time, all four phones can hit the same peak of 60 FPS. Strangely, the 17 Pro, despite maintaining an average of 59 FPS, briefly dropped all the way to 40 FPS before quickly coming back to 59 FPS. However, the overall worst was the 16, which plummeted to just 38 FPS and got chipotle hot, reaching a peak temperature of 49 degrees Celsius. Moving on from gaming, we exported 99 photos in Lightroom. Surprisingly, all four phones finished the render in about the same time, with the iPhone 16 being the last to finish the export. Next, we rendered a 3-minute 4K 30 FPS video in CapCut. Here, all of them finished in under a minute, but strangely, the 16 was the quickest and the 17 Pro was the slowest. But now, let's check out some benchmarks. In Geekbench 6, the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro scored around the same points in the single-core test, but when it came to multi-core performance, the 17 Pro opened a much bigger gap over the 17. In 3D Mark's Wildlife Extreme stress test, the 17 Pro clearly dominated the rest, not just on the best performance loop, but even its lowest loop score was similar to the best loop score of the iPhone 16. In Antutu, the 17 Pro once again landed the highest score, with the 17 taking second place, the 16 Pro in third, and the 16 coming in last with a pretty significant difference. So in real-world testing and gaming, all four phones perform very similarly, with the 17 and 17 Pro showing a little bit more efficiency when gaming. In the benchmarks, we basically see increasing scores with each new generation, but to be fair, all of these iPhones offer plenty of power for anything you want to throw at them. Now let's check out the software tricks. As of right now, all of these iPhones are running on iOS 26.0.1, which patches the most critical bugs from the initial iOS 26 release. While Apple doesn't hand out an official timeline for software support, historically iPhones snag roughly 7 years of both security and OS updates. Across the board, you get the new Liquid Glass interface with Windows Aero vibes, along with some UI tweaks in apps like the camera. We also get the new call screening feature, which is perfect for Gen Z people who get get anxious about answering their phone. In terms of AI, we finally have a much more useful Apple Intelligence that includes Siri with ChatGPT integration and visual intelligence for camera or screenshot-based searches. And, of course, you can't forget the updated Playground app, also with ChatGPT integration, to let you materialize some truly absolute nonsense. Other shared features include the customizable action button and the camera button, which we barely ever use. However, the iPhone 17 Pro and the 16 Pro do come with some exclusive software features geared toward content creators. You get ProRAW for deep photo editing and ProRes for pro-grade video. The 17 Pro takes it a step further though by adding ProRes RAW for even greater control over your footage in post-production. So with that feature overview out of the way, let's move on to our final segment. The iPhone 17 Pro is already housing the biggest sell of the group in this international version with a physical SIM tray. But you actually get even more power in the eSIM exclusive version sold in the States. Apple is always secretive about the maximum wired charging speed, but they're oddly transparent on wireless charging, which sits at 25 watts across the board when you use a MagSafe charger. Now, all of these phones support reverse wired charging, but they can only use reverse wireless charging to top up a MagSafe battery pack while it's attached to the phone, and only when the phone itself is plugged in and charging via a cable. For whatever reason, Apple still hasn't unlocked this feature to wirelessly charge things like your AirPods. In our charging test using a 100 watts charger, the iPhone 17 was the quickest filling up its battery in 1 hour and 14 minutes, peaking at 33 watts. But just 1 minute later came the iPhone 17 Pro, reaching also a very similar 34 watts. The iPhone 16 Pro came at the 1 hour and 38 minute mark, reaching 24 watts, while the iPhone 16 took its sweet time, finishing in 1 hour and 53 minutes, reaching a similar 25 watts. And now for the moment of truth, the price tag. Despite all the upgrades Apple stuffed into the iPhone 17, it actually retails at the exact same $799 as last year. The 17 Pro is clearly more expensive, starting at $1,099. The iPhone 16 has seen its price slashed by $100, now landing at $699. As is the usual tradition, Apple officially discontinued the Pro versions from last year, but you can still find the 16 Pro in some physical Apple stores, though we're unsure of their specific price there. However, major carriers are still listing it for $899. So between the cheapest iPhone 16 and the priciest iPhone 17 Pro, you've got a massive $400 gap. That's money that could easily go towards a $349 iPad, and you still have a cool $51 left over for tacos. Okay, so putting it all on the table, we have to say the best absolute option out of all of these phones is easily the iPhone 17. It's practically an iPhone 16 Pro, but without the telephoto lens. You're getting killer performance, plus it finally has those huge hardware upgrades like the display, new ultra-wide camera, and charging speeds that the iPhone 16 was desperately needing. And the best part? It kept the exact same $799 price tag. We'd still love to have at least a small telephoto though. The iPhone 16 Pro is also a really good deal if you can even find one, since it's already being phased out everywhere. The iPhone 17 Pro is, of course, going to give you the best of the best, but it's seriously going to drain your wallet like a used Range Rover. As for the iPhone 16, honestly, it's not really worth it anymore when the 17 offers so much more for almost the same price. If you want to see how the iPhone 17 and 16 stack up against the older 15 and even the 14, make sure to karate kick this link right here. And before you go to wishlist stuff that you can't afford, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and hit subscribe, as we're always testing new devices to help you make the best choice. We'll see you in our next video, and until then, take care.